Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with two very special guests. Our first guest today is Dr. Shelley Kaehr, and she's here to share with us her new book, Past Lives with Pets. Discover your timeless connection to your beloved companions. Now, Shelley is a past life regression practitioner in private practice for over 20 years. She received her PhD in parapsychic science from the American Institute of Holistic Theology and a certificate of clinical hypnotherapy, master hypnotist, and master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. Her work has been featured prominently in media such as programs as William Shatner's Weird or What? And I'm sure many of you are asking the same questions I've been asking. Do our pets have past lives? So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Shelley Kaehr.
Marianne, thank you so much for having me on the show.
You know, what an honor it is to have you here. And I absolutely love this book. I mean, once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down, but I'm sure you hear that from everybody.
Well, you're so kind. Thank you. I think a lot of people love animals, so.
Well, especially when we talk about past lives with animals, it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. You know, I've heard about past lives, but now we're talking about it with our pets. So I've got to ask you, like, what inspired you to write this book?
It began kind of as a joke where I was talking about how much I would love to come back in a previous life or a next life as my cat because he's so spoiled. And then also for the last 20 years, I've been doing past life regressions with people. And over the years, I do have people who say, hey, you know, my pet that I have now, I knew him in another life. This has come up in private session. And sometimes the pets that they have currently, they claimed were coming from their same life, but maybe during their childhood. And so I started just doing more research into it. And so this is the case studies that are smaller pieces of larger client case histories that I've collected over the last 20 years.
Well, you know, it's interesting because a lot of this, you know, there's been some thought about this as well. I mean, there's been a couple of movies that talk about it. They're total tearjerkers. You know, when we look at past lives with animals and them having, you know, because our lives obviously are much longer than the pets, and having them come back and reincarnate into another animal, you know, that's a very curious thing.
Yes, you're talking about the dog's journey, and I agree that is a tearjerker. I read the book. I was sitting in the library one day reading it and just bawling my head off. People probably thought I was crazy, but that is a fictional account, but it's so accurate because those books talk about a dog's journey as he reincarnates several times into the lives of this one family. And in my book, I have clients who have reported that they also knew their pets who they had in childhood who have also come back to, I think it's because, you know, these are part of our soul group. I don't think we often think of our animals as part of our soul group, but they really are because those relationships are so significant in our lives. And so it kind of makes sense. It certainly makes sense to my clients.
Yeah, I can see where that is. And, you know, I think a lot of people have questions about this, and that's why this is coming up. So when you talk about animals being part of our soul group, what does that mean? What does that look like?
I have come to believe in this idea that many of the people that we are encountering in daily life are people that we have been with before. Some of them are here to give us some fabulous lessons, and others are here because, you know, they've got our back. They're supporting us on our soul journey. And potentially there's unfinished business there, but a lot of times it's a very supportive relationship. And so likewise, our pets, you know, when we adopt a pet, even though their lives are so much shorter than ours, it still can comprise a very significant chapter of one's life, the decade or 20 years or however long that animal's with you, sometimes just side by side with you, at times when you're maybe not with another human being. And so they share aspects of our soul journey aspects of our lives that when we look back on them in memory, we go, wow, I couldn't have gotten through that without my dog or my cat. And so it's, for my clients, it's been a real blessing because they normally are coming in to see me for deeper challenges, and understanding that their pet is someone that they had known before is kind of like a pleasant byproduct to a longer session that might be about more emotional things. And so they come to understand that the love that they've shared with this pet in their current lifetime is something that is endless and timeless and has been sometimes going on potentially for thousands of years.
I think that's so comforting for people to know that they have that kind of soul support. Because while we're here, things can be really difficult. And to have that love and that affection or whatever it is that that pet brings to us, I think is so important.
It really is. I mean, look at all the things we're going through this year in particular. And, you know, all of these happy dogs who are getting walked all the time because their masters have been home. I mean, if it wasn't for our animals this year in particular, I can really say life would be a lot more challenging even than it already is, because they've been providing comfort and companionship in a way that is very in the forefront of many people's minds this year. And certainly has been always like that, but I think we can be especially grateful for them at this current moment in history.
Yeah, you hear about the shelters being cleared out, because people realize that they're at home and they need that kind of connection. And you mentioned a little bit ago about how people come to you. You've been doing this work for over 20 years. People come to you for past life regressions. At what point did you start seeing a pattern with animals showing up?
Periodically, for many, many years, I've seen them just pop up kind of randomly. And then it seems over the last decade, it was becoming more and more common. And so I finally decided, that is a book that I think I will compile, because I have so many different kinds of case studies. I just had an idea that this is something that potentially was needed at this time. So um, I think it's more prevalent now. When I first started, Marianne, people are getting more and more open-minded about all these things maybe than they were even 20 years ago, as far as talking about the idea that maybe we have lived before in past lives. And so because it's more talked about, more people are starting to seek regression than ever before. And so it's just become something that is more and more common, and just a pleasant surprise, I think, on the life path.
I think that's such a great thing. So why don't you share with us a couple of the case studies that you talk about? Because I found them so fascinating.
One of my favorite ones, it's a real story of redemption, was about a man who came to see me for regression. And he had worked with horses his whole life. And he shared that when he was a youth, he had been one of the troubled teens who was sent off to a summer camp in Utah for discipline and, just to get things kind of straightened out in his life. And so during his regression, he went back to a life where he was on a wagon train in the West, and he recognized that his parents there were the people who were running that boys' ranch that he spent his summers in. And he realized that the love that they showed him in this current life, and how they really worked with him to help him get to where he was in his current life at the moment when I met him, that love, was really very, very old. And he recognized them, and he was just able to really deepen his appreciation for this idea that they had come to him for a reason. And even though he was in trouble when he went and met them, the kindness and compassion that they showed him there, that was really from their connection in the past, helped him completely transform his life. And he never would have been introduced to horses. He never would have had this as part of his experience, but that, sometimes things are just meant to be. And it also shows that, we all make mistakes in our lives, but there's a redemptive quality to that one that I thought was really beautiful, because, there's always a chance to make new decisions in the future. And we do go through a variety of different tough times in our lives, but life's a journey. And so there's always room for growth and change. And he was really able to understand that the horses were such an important part of his journey and just really feel the love that those people had for him and how timeless that was as well.
Now, do you have one that also is a case study with a dog? And I'm sure you probably have one with a cat too, because I'm sure our dog and cat lovers would love to hear those.
Yes. The one I love with the dogs, there was a man who came to see me. He was really interested in firefighting. In his current life, he did not work as a professional firefighter, but he lived in a small town where they had a volunteer fire department. So he had a day job, but he was in the volunteer fire department. And so during his regression, he went back to a very early time during the San Francisco earthquake. And he realized that he had been a firefighter there. And he recognized that the Dalmatian who was living in his firehouse was the same soul that was living as a Dalmatian in his volunteer fire department. And so he was able to just really understand that the fighting fires is a very unusual skill, but it really was one of his soul gifts. But he came to an understanding of the other things that he was doing in his life and why that's what he needed to be doing now, but that the fire fighting and the gift that he had for that was still very much part of his soul journey and a very important part of his path. And so it's just another way that people are able to just connect with their soul purpose, I think, which is one of the main reasons to do past life regression. I think sometimes we know that we're attracted to certain things. We may or may not be able to pursue them in our life. And so one of the main reasons why people do pursue past life regressions is that you can go into the past and tap into your soul gifts. And some of them may be underutilized, but in the case of this gentleman, he was definitely using his gifts to the extent that he was supposed to in this lifetime. And it was a very old skill that he had.
Man, that's so fascinating. I love that, and it's interesting how these, our pets connect with us and show up to help us on our path. I'm sure for our cat lovers out there, you've got a great cat one too.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones involves I have a lot of friends in Florida who have been living through a lot of hurricanes and, have often had to go turn to FEMA shelters and things like that during times of storms. And so during the time I was doing a lot of workshops in Florida on and off for many, many years. And so I had a client there who came to see me because he was having great anxiety about the storms, because during one of the hurricanes, he refused to leave his home and it was just completely leveled. He was able to get out, but he lost absolutely everything. And in the aftermath of a storm, this little cat came up, and of course he took the cat in. He looked all over and tried to find the cat's owner, but of course that didn't happen. And so they became big buddies. And so during his regression, he realized that he had lived through storms before, and he went back into a life where he was living in Asia on an island, and he was standing there as a tsunami was about to take over and just wipe everybody out. And he recognized the soul of this little cat was there also, and they had known each other in the village. And so as a result of coming out of that, we were able to do it. My process includes like combining energy healing with the hypnosis so that we can energetically lighten up some of these more darker traumatic events, because I've worked with a lot of people who have experienced anxiety and depression and trauma and things like that. So we did a lot of lightening of the energies around that. And so when he came out of the regression, he felt much better. And I ended up speaking with him sometime later, and he said that from that moment on, when he really had seen that tsunami coming for him, the next time they issued an evacuation order in Florida, he decided that yes, he was definitely going to pack up. And so he took his little cat, and they definitely went north and sought higher ground, because he had a renewed appreciation for the fact that this is not really something that you can mess with, and that he had really gotten very lucky the first time in this current life. So
Isn't that the truth? I mean, those things are dangerous, you know, and it brings a whole new perspective because you can look at how there was healing that took place, there was anxiety and upset that had happened, and just being able to come out the other side. I mean, how great is that?
It really is. I think regression really can be used to bring light and relief and healing to just about any situation.
I love that. Now, I know that you also do some work with people that deal with grief, with pets, and so how do you work with somebody that's going through a grieving process?
Yeah, one of the reasons why I'd become a regression therapist is after a friend of mine had passed away in a hiking accident, and I had really not gotten over this and kind of carried this around with me for almost a decade. And then somebody suggested that I have a past life regression, and I realized that we had known each other in many lifetimes, and he had always passed away early, always leaving me with these strange, lingering feelings. And there was something about my own experience of just getting above these events and just looking at things from a different perspective that after seeking and searching for all that time, it was really the past life regression that helped me transcend that grief. And so I began earlier in my practice. I think the universe tends to bring you people who are going through the same kind of things that you're going through. And so I was doing a lot of grief recovery work with people. And so I just decided that that was such an important part of past lives with pets also, because as we've mentioned, I mean, your pet, when you own a pet and the pet is with you side by side for 10 to 20 years or however long it is, that's like a family member then. And when they pass, it can be incredibly devastating. One of the things that I learned early on is that I think that there is an illusion of separateness between physical reality and the person who's crossed over. And so the grieving person is left here going, oh, wow, they're gone, they're gone, they're gone. And this causes like energetic constriction in the body. And so I developed this process just to bring light and just to energetically, on a cellular level, connect with that person who left so that the body could start to relax and just to kind of bring in an awareness of the idea that quantum physicists would say that matter can never die. It just gets transformed. And so if we understand that our loved one is still out there somewhere, they're just at a different frequency that may be imperceivable to us right now, then that can really bring a lot of healing. And so in the pet journey, there's a journey in the book when we lose our little fluff balls. So we go on a journey where we do a relaxation. We walk through into a space where our beloved animal meets us there. And we're just also, just like we do with people, able just to energetically reconnect with them, hold them, hug them, feel the unconditional love, the amazing love that that animal has for you, and just start to bring a physical relief to the actual body. It's been very, very transformational over the years for most people.
Have you found that there are people that say, you know, that's great that you can do the, because I know you talk about the guided imagery journeys in your book and you walk people through how to do that. But if they want more help, is that something that you actually help people with?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I still do private sessions, of course, but I also want to just provide journeys for people in books because I feel like that kind of healing needs to be accessible at different levels for everyone. And thanks to technology, you know, we've got all these great apps on our phone and things. So I recommend that readers can even go through there and just read the scripts that I'm giving you and then play back to yourselves. And then you can get quite a bit of healing and answers. But for really deeper things, absolutely, I still maintain a private practice and I do work with people all over.
Now, you mentioned in your book that you've actually had past life with your pets, and I'd love for you to share that with us.
Yes. So one of the big things I mentioned early on was this idea that some people were telling me, well, I've had my cat that I had when I was a kid is my cat who I have now. And that was certainly the case with me. I had two cats when I was a kid. One was a typical, you know, a real cat's cat, a nice, aggressive, hunter cat who was outdoors all the time, and then the other one was like a little throw pillow who liked to stay in the house and really couldn't take care of himself. And so the dominating female cat was like his mother, and she cared for him. But she was always out hunting in our neighborhood and had been poisoned by her neighbors because she was killing the neighbors' fish in their pond. And so she was poisoned when I was a little kid. And then the other cat lived quite a long life. And I was always telling people, I think these cats are the same two that I knew when I was a kid. And so in the book, I have a process for this now. So, of course, I put myself through these processes as well. And this cat, well, the cat's name was Kitten. That's not a very good name. But she was the killer. She was out hunting. And the other cat was, again, like a little throw pillow who had to be taken care of all the time. And so she had actually, prior to her poisoning, when the cat that I had when I was a child had been run over in the street by a car, and we had to have a pin put in her left leg. And so the Kitten, who came back later, had disappeared for about a month and straggled back in, and she had her left leg damaged. And I took her to the vet, and they said, well, it looks like a coyote might have gotten her, but she was able to get away. And so in this next incarnation of this pair of cats, the little fuzzball ended up passing away first. And Kitten ended up, when she got to a certain age, she wised up and she stopped going out. And she made a conscious decision to just come back in the house and just park herself there. And she ended up living over 20 years. It was the longest that I'd ever had any cat live. And so I felt like as souls, they were here to kind of do things a little bit differently this time. And especially with Kitten, that soul really kind of made an evolution and kind of wised up, learned a few things as a soul. But I feel like they were also here to be with me personally,
Now, were any of these animals with you in a past life?
Not those, but the cat that I have now, Biscuit, he is a little love. So he was, well, in the current life, I got him from the shelter, as I usually get all of my cats. And he gets really, really emotional when I go out of town. And so I went on a past life regression because I'd always felt like him and I had a connection, because I was really guided that I needed to go get him right when I found him. And I was surprised to find that him and I knew each other in Scotland when I was a little girl, and he was my Scottish sheep. And I lived on a farm with my parents, and we had a bunch of sheep, but they had assigned me to him. And so I was brushing him and taking care of him. And in the regression, I saw that I had passed away, and he became very, very distraught by that. And so I was told that that's the reason why he gets so upset if I go out of town now. And so it was just very strange. He kind of looks like the sheep too. That was what was weird. His little legs look the same, and he doesn't say much. He makes these little sounds that are very, very sheep-like. It was very strange, and it was not what I was expecting.
Well, it's interesting because I'm sure they do these things that we'll recognize, So if we've had a pet in a past life and they've got these different behaviors, or even this life, we kind of recognize it. It's like, okay, well, this could be the same animal, just, the same spirit in a different animal.
Absolutely, because, our little animals, all of your listeners, we could get them on here right now, and everybody would have a story about the unique personality that their little pet has and things that they do that they've just never seen another cat or dog do. It's just so unusual, and it just really reiterates to me the idea that these are souls with consciousness, and potentially they picked up these interesting little quirks from their past lives, just like we do.
Yeah, we've got all these things, and they're here to help us along our journey with our little quirks and all,
Yes.
Well, so why don't you share with us a little bit about, I know we've talked about it, but what is the guided imagery journey? What does that look like?
Yeah, so all of my regression sessions, even the ones when we're discovering our pets, kind of follow a certain pattern. So you just sit in a comfortable space. We go through relaxation, where I have you imagining that there's a healing, peaceful light moving through the body. You're noticing your breath and just bringing in greater levels of relaxation. And then I have people imagine that there's an energetic shield around them so that only that which is of highest good can come through. And then people walk through a door into a peaceful space where they are met by either an angel or a spirit guide. And so one of the journeys in past lives with pets, it's a little bit different, is I believe that we have different angels and guides who are with us on the unseen level, supporting us and just helping us along our path. And this book has a guided imagery journey where we go through that space and we're able to connect with our animal guides, because some of us do have animal totems. So for some people, it may be a familiar totem, or other clients who've used this process say that they have encountered an animal they never met before, and the animal will share messages and things like that. And then the regression begins. Normally, people will hold an intent in their mind. And so in the pet book, of course, we're asking, how did I know little Fifi before? And then we're going back to the source event or to the most significant event where we potentially knew our pet. But that could also be, we could go back to any intention, like anything people want to know. Usually, broad generalization, our challenges in life are in the areas of love, health, or money, or security in the world. And so whatever those issues are, setting the intention in advance and then asking the higher self, with the help of the angels or guides who are helping us, to take you back to that source event where you can very gently see what's going on. And then I'll ask people, okay, great. So how does this thing that happened thousands of years ago and what you were doing back then, how is that applying to the things that we're doing in our current life? And people always have a story, and they can always see the correlation between the actions then and the things happening then and what's going on now. And then I'll say, well, what lessons did you learn? And do we need to release any unwanted energies, or do we need to send healing or forgiveness, or do we need to be forgiven or forgive others, or whatever it is? And then so we try to do a healing on this. And then the final step is I take people out into their current life, future, to moments in this lifetime that have not happened yet, but yet along the lines that all time is now, and time is a bit of an illusion. We can go out to these future memories where we're happy, we're healthy, we're putting it all together, life is going well. And then from that space, then I'll ask the person, okay, great. So you're feeling really good right now. So what was the first step that you took to get there? Because theoretically, even though it's in the future, you're looking at it at this kind of elevated level where you can see the exact steps. And people will say, well, I read the book, and then I went to the seminar, then I met this person, and then that led me down this road to where I'm at now. And then if they come back from the journey and can believe in the messages that their higher self has given them, and really start moving in that direction of where they want to go, there's a lot of real transformation and healing that can happen.
Now, you mentioned animal totems. Is this something that someone would see on a consistent basis, or does that change every time they do a regression?
I think animal totems are with us for longer periods as a general rule, for our lifetime. But I also think that just like any friends that you have, you've got friends that you've known since childhood. And then so that's a reason, a season, maybe a totem as far as an animal will come in just for a particular season to work with you on this particular chapter in your soul's journey. And so that can vary, but for the most part, most of the people who do this journey are going to uncover deeper connections to the totems, either that they already knew or ones that have been with them for a very, very long time.
So what do you want readers to take away from your book?
At the end of the book, in the last part of the guided journey section, I put in an exercise where we just go into a peaceful space to connect with the love that these animals have had and all of our pets have had for us over the course of our lifetimes. And so I'd really like readers to walk away with that feeling of deepening the understanding of what it feels like to experience true unconditional love, because our animals are some of our best teachers. They're teaching us how to love, how to actually receive love, and what it's like to feel that in a way that I don't think hardly anyone else, even other people, can really help us to experience. And so I hope that they walk away with a feeling of just profound love.
I can see where they would get that from this book. I mean, your book has so much great information for people who are really looking to have a deeper understanding and connection with our pets. And I highly recommend Past Life with Pets. Shelley, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
Yes, my website is pastlifelady.com. And then if you're on Facebook, definitely come by my Past Life Lady page. I've got an Instagram, which is at Shelley Kaehr, and I put all my Instagram in my Past Life Lady page. And then if listeners just search that, they will find me, and I'd love to connect.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Marianne, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real joy.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kaehr. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and, of course, to talk about your new book, Past Lives with Pets. Discover your timeless connection to your beloved companions. Past Lives with Pets is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And, of course, if it's sold out, ask for them to order it, and it's on Kindle. Again, if you'd like to connect with Dr. Shelley Kaehr, you can at pastlifelady.com for more information. Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break, but you want to stay tuned with us. Our next guest is here to talk with us about Earth Angels. So are you an Earth Angel? We'll find out right after these messages. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with our next special guest, Tanya Carroll Richardson, and she's here to share with us her new book, Are You an Earth Angel? Understand your sensitive and empathic nature and live with divine purpose. Now, Tanya is a self-improvement spiritual author and professional intuitive. She's been writing about angels and interviewing people about their encounters with angels for over a decade and is a regular contributor on Mind Body Green. We've been lucky to have her on the show many times before, and I'm so excited that we get to talk with her about her new book, Are You an Earth Angel? So let's welcome to the show, Tanya Carroll Richardson.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back.
You know, what a joy it is to have you here and to talk about your new book. Oh my goodness, I love this book. And it's so interesting because, a lot of times people are like, I'm sensitive, I feel like I'm empathic, but hey, what do I do? Is that really what's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like people who are earth angels, earth angels was kind of an energy or an archetype I recognized in clients. So I do intuitive sessions one-on-one with clients. And at this point, over the years, I've done thousands of clients all over the world, all walks of life. And most of the people who come to do a reading with me are highly sensitive or empathic or both. So they have that sensitive energetic system, that sensitive nervous system where they pick up more easily on subtle stimuli. So that could be the subtle stimuli in the room that's physical, like, wow, the temperature in here, I'm really feeling that, or the loud noise, I'm really hearing that. Or it could be the energetic information around you. I'm picking up on the energy and emotions of others. So most of my clients were highly sensitive or empathic or both. But I also started to recognize that among those clients, some of them felt like earth angels to me. And I just wanted to say that if you feel like this idea of earth angels, which is definitely a concept that's been around before my book just came out in June, so it might be something you've already thought of or heard about, it doesn't mean that if you feel like you are an earth angel or you're not, that means you're more enlightened or better or more spiritually evolved or more sensitive. If you do identify as an earth angel, it just simply means that you're on a soul mission to really, really give and really try and help people who are really suffering. So the interesting thing with earth angels is they are highly sensitive and empathic. And then on top of that, they also really feel called to help others and are very nourished by helping others. So because of that, they can tend to overgive. So this book is a lot about how to live your earth angel mission in the world and also how to take care of yourself.
Okay, so you talked about earth angels, and gosh, it's on your book. So, of course we want to talk about that. So what is an earth angel, just for maybe someone who's new and so that way they can kind of identify, hey, may I be one? Maybe I'm one. I don't even know it.
Yeah, if you're an earth angel, you are, again, highly sensitive or empathic, which we already talked about what that means. That's just being more hypersensitive, hyperperceptive. So it means you pick up more easily on subtle stimuli, whether that's feeling other people's energies and emotions or sensing physical stimulation more easily, but usually both at the same time. So that's wonderful to be so sensitive and hyper perceptive and pick up on so much. And then earth angels within that group of very sensitive people are people who are very nourished by giving. So you might find that being nice to people or being of service to other people in whatever job or role you do, whether you're a banker or you're a parent or you're retired, it doesn't matter what you do for a living or what your roles are to other people. You just feel deeply nourished and deeply on purpose when you're serving and giving. So that if you really feel that those deep, yum, warm, lovey vibes by giving to others, you probably are an earth angel.
So do earth angels need to really, practice good self-care and self-love more so than maybe, everyone else because they're so empathic and they're being so, attacked sensitively from what's happening around them?
Well, yeah, I think everyone needs to practice good self-care and self-love just across the board. The interesting thing that I like to talk about in my books and my articles for Mind Body Green is how sensitive people might need specific self-care practices that are tailored to their own sensitivity. So, one thing that I talk about in my book, Are You an Earth Angel, is getting sensitive people who are highly sensitive or empathic, helping them learn how to tune in or out of other people, or how to tune in or out of collective energy. It's not a perfect science because, of course, as a sensitive person, you're going to pick up on things, and you're meant to pick up on things. That's why you're sensitive. That's why you're wired this way, or why you awaken to this sensitivity at some point in your life. It's meant to be there for you. However, sensitive people, their default wiring is to tune in. So what I like to teach people how to do is to more mindfully tune in or out, depending on what is most appropriate, most helpful for others, and most nourishing for themselves. And sensitive people do need to have certain strong boundaries around other people, because around other people's energies and emotions, simply because when you can feel other people's energies and emotions intimately, as if they were your own, it can set sensitive people up to be more people-pleasing, more codependent, in other words, more rescuing. In other words, it can make sensitive people think that, well, since I can feel other people's energies and emotions, then I must therefore be responsible for them. So sometimes sensitive people are more prone to trying to manage or control or manipulate other people's emotions to make them feel better, so that then they can feel better. They're not feeling the challenging energy. So, I think sensitive people really need a manual or a guidebook to being sensitive, which unfortunately none of us are given, either as children or if we awaken to our sensitivity as adults and it comes online then. We're not always given the tools we need. So that's what I'm trying to provide for people.
So, in being sensitive, is that something that people should, kind of be afraid of? Because a lot of times you hear where people are like, well, I can't go outside or be in large crowds. And of course, in today's age, we don't want people to be in large crowds anyway with the social distancing. But when they're around groups of people, they feel just so impacted by it.
Well, and that's why sensitive people really need to get better tools to feel more empowered, because sensitive people can feel so much that even now in the digital age, I have a whole section in the Are You an Earth Angel book about how to interact as a sensitive person in the digital age, because sensitive people can pick up on energies and emotions from texts or emails or social media. So hiding away is not the answer. It's interesting because sensitive people do need more what I call retreat and recover time, which I talk about in the Are You an Earth Angel book. So they do need to retreat and pull back to reground into their own system and let themselves process all the stimuli they've picked up on. So, as a sensitive person, you might have one weekend where you're out with your friends or you have some big event. The sensitive person would usually want the next weekend off. Like, I just need to be in my PJs, bumming around the house. I need that retreat and recovery time. However, sensitive people do need to watch out for over-isolating to try and manage their sensitivity. So sometimes if you are feeling extra anxious or depressed, or there's a lot of intense energy in the world, yes, you might feel like you need to pull back more than normal, for sure. But at the same time, when sensitive people isolate, that's not good for them either, because when you are wired to naturally feel the energy and emotions of others as if they were your own, you're wired to connect with people in a very deep and intimate way, and that's nourishing. So if you're not getting that, it's not going to feel good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's so important to really watch your energy as it is. So I think even if people, they read this book and go, well, I don't really know if I resonate as an earth angel, there's still so much that they can be gained from reading this book. I'm just so impressed with all the information.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. And it's funny because I have had a couple of people who were given free galley reviews by the publishers, and they were empaths. And a couple of them said, I read this book and I really don't feel like I'm an earth angel, but I loved this book because there's so much information about being a sensitive person, and I love the exercises. So I think that's that wonderful thing, is you don't have to identify as an earth angel. You might read about earth angels and feel like, oh my gosh, this describes me perfectly, as some of my clients have said. Or you might say, I'm not really an earth angel, but I am a sensitive person, and I do need more tools for being a sensitive person in the world. We all do.
So you have this exercise in your book that I just love. It's called Shifting Your Energy and Lifting Your Vibration. I mean, how many of us need that right now, right?
Right. Yeah, it's hard because especially, I'm glad you brought this up about the current collective energy, which is so at times intense and traumatic and also transformational. I feel like a lot of earth angels are being activated right now because earth angels really do want to help people who are suffering, really do want to be of service to others. So I think earth angels would naturally want to be helping right now, want to be giving. So, and earth angels are wired to give. So it's just like all sensitive people are wired to feel and connect intimately. So they need to do that. Earth angels are also wired to give. So they need to find a way to give right now. At the same time, they have to realize, wow, the collective energy right now is incredibly intense. So I need to find very mindful ways to give while also really upping my self-care so that the stamina of my sensitive psychic and nervous systems can handle what's going on right now.
Are you finding that you're having a lot of people reach out to you for that type of self-care and how-to tips? Because, things are pretty intense right now.
Yeah, I think the thing that comes to me intuitively is I think it helps always just to admit that to yourself. You don't have to sugarcoat what's happening or try and downplay it in your mind. I think we can all just say, yes, what's happening right now is very intense. And emotions, the angels that I work with in sessions with clients, I always feel like I get the best information about what's going on right now in my sessions with clients when I'm tuning into angels and getting those intuitive downloads. And the angels have told me consistently this year that people's emotions are very heightened right now. At the same time, the angels told me that's how it's meant to be. So all of our emotions are very heightened right now. Collectively, we're very emotionally heightened. Yet at the same time, that's spiritually what's supposed to be happening right now. So I think it's important to know that, understand that that's the climate, and know yourself. If you know how you react in situations where there's more intensity. Some people might be an emergency room nurse and also a sensitive person, and they have a higher tolerance for that kind of intense energy. They live it every day. So you know what your tolerance are, you know where your sweet spot is. So if you're an earth angel, find a way to give, but find a way to still stay in your sweet spot energetically of how much intense energy you can naturally handle.
So, let's say that they are handling their energy, but maybe they're not really paying attention to all the, self-love exercises. Can earth angels become burnt out?
Yes, and I so appreciate you mentioning that because I do have the publisher and I put a large section in the book of Earth Angel burnout. So it's interesting. Some clients will come to me, I'll be doing a session with them and I'll hear intuitively, clairaudiently with a voice in my mind that they're an Earth Angel, yet I'll also hear that they're in burnout. So when an Earth Angel enters burnout, it's nothing to get mad at yourself for or judge yourself more. It simply means that you've spread yourself too thin and you've overgiven and you're run down. But the interesting thing is when an earth angel is in burnout, they won't feel very earth angel-y at all. They don't feel like giving. They probably don't feel naturally optimistic. They probably feel pretty pessimistic. And they just don't exhibit any of the natural signs of earth angels of being so compassionate, so wanting to give, so naturally optimistic, so hopeful. So you might read the book and think, I used to feel this way. Some of what Tanya's describing as an earth angel used to really resonate with me, but I haven't felt that way maybe even for a couple of years. It might be that you just went into earth angel burnout, and that happens. It's happened to me. It happens to all of us. Burnout happens to anyone at any time, no matter who they are, what they identify as. So if you do feel like you're in burnout, it really is time to just pull back and take care of yourself. And that's the best thing you can do for humanity and for yourself.
So what are some of the symptoms that, an earth angel is going through burnout that they need to pay attention to?
Well, I think some burnout symptoms that are similar for Earth Angel, again, Earth Angels naturally usually see the cup as half full. So even in really challenging, tough circumstances, Earth Angels will still feel real, optimistic. I always say practice realistic optimism. So not wishful thinking, but but looking at a situation and saying, man, okay, this is a really tough time, but I'm still trying to look for the hope or the silver linings or the optimism on the horizon. I'm still holding that energy. So if you're not feeling that way, if you're feeling very dark, very pessimistic, and you usually don't feel that way, that's a classic symptom of earth angel burnout. If you're not feeling compassionate towards others, if you're the kind of person that usually isn't so judgmental, it usually is pretty merciful and compassionate, and even when you're angry at someone or upset with someone and you're justified in it, you always think, well, I guess I wish them the best, and I can see that they're in pain too. If you're unable to get in touch with that and you naturally are pretty compassionate, that's another sign of burnout. And then, of course, anyone in burnout is going to feel exhausted. They're going to feel emotionally and physically run down. And I always say people who are sensitive are so into energy because energy is real for them. They can feel it, they can sense it, they can create it. But remember, work with healthcare professionals, because sometimes a sensitive person will think, oh, it's just the energy that's exhausting me. But there might be something going on in their physical body with their thyroid or their hormones or their vitamin and mineral levels or their diet. So if you really are feeling exhausted and you think it's a symptom of burnout, make an appointment with your nurse practitioner or your naturopath or whoever you do your healthcare with and get a checkup.
Do you find that people who are earth angels tend to have something impacted in their body because they're using energy so intensely?
I don't know about that. I think earth angels are people who love energy and love to do energy work and energy healing. So I think whether you get energy healings from someone else or you like to sit in meditation and ask an angel or visualize clearing your energy, or maybe you're a Reiki person and you give yourself a Reiki attunement, I think angels working with energy is really powerful and wonderful. But I don't think that earth angels have to have, just because they're earth angels, then they're kind of doomed to having things stuck in their body, or if you're a sensitive empathic person, you're kind of doomed to having, other people's energy trigger and overwhelm you. So that's something I really try and shift in my books of like, hey, we don't have to feel victimized just because we're sensitive. We can feel empowered and get better tools for how to navigate our sensitivity.
So in your book, you talk about the importance of filling up our optimism tank. What is that, and what are some ways that earth angels can do that?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great example to give, especially right now. I think, because earth angels and all sensitive people, highly sensitive, empathic people, are so sensitive to energy and emotions, you can use that to your advantage. So I think lots of times sensitive people are on alert for, I want to avoid toxic energy or a quote unquote person who's being toxic or, that kind of stuff. But I think, remember, flip it around in your mind and say, hey, I can use this sensitivity where I very easily absorb things to my advantage. Like, let me listen to something really inspiring. Let me listen to a TED Talk that's really inspiring. Let me read an article by someone who's overcome something really inspiring, or, that kind of thing, exposing yourself to that really inspiring energy of someone else talking or writing in an article or reading about something amazing someone has accomplished. Especially right now, if you're sensing, hey, we're really in some tough times, you might read about someone who did something really inspiring during the Great Depression or did something really inspiring during the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, and just feel very inspired by that energy and allow yourself to feel very inspired. Take that on and let it kind of raise your vibration and change your own energy.
Now, do earth angels have their own divine team that works with them too here, or are they kind of winging it? A little pun there,
That's a good play on words. I think earth angels, all humans, in my view, have what I call a spiritual guidance squad. So that's made up of divine angels, spirit guides, ascended masters like Buddha or Mary. There's many ascended masters. Also your ancestors, people can be spirit guides, loved ones who passed on can be spirit guides. So the nice thing about being sensitive is everyone has a spiritual guidance squad, but because sensitive people are naturally more intuitive and naturally more sensitive to energy, sometimes they can work a little more intimately with their spiritual guidance squad because they might have any of the 4 psychic clairs online in their system: clairaudience, where you hear guidance as a voice in your mind, or claircognizance, where you just get these breakthrough thoughts, these aha ideas that are from your intuition, or clairsentience. All sensitive people are very strong in that, where you can feel energies and emotions. So you might feel an angel in the room, or feel a spirit guide walking with you. And then the last one is clairvoyance, where you see images in your mind. So for the sensitive person or the earth angel, the spiritual guidance squad can really get to you quite quickly because they can send you messages through your intuition. And sensitive people are usually a little more sensitive to signs and synchronicities in the world, which are sent to everybody. But so that's kind of the nice thing about sensitive people. They might have a more intimate, proactive relationship with their spiritual guidance squad.
So do earth angels kind of get an earthly pass, so to speak, where life is easy for them, no challenges, because hey, you're an earth angel, right?
No. I think, and forgive me for laughing because it's not funny. There's so much just really rough stuff that happens to everyone in life. And in my spiritual view, and from working with clients and just observing life, no one gets a free pass. Yes, there are people who have a much more difficult road than others, but no one is exempt from pain and loss and suffering when they're doing the earth plane thing as a human. It's part of the gig, unfortunately. However, earth angels, because they really are called to go to where people are suffering, sometimes people say that that's what a light worker is. It's someone who wants to go to the dark places and bring their light. It means that you do interact with the dark places and the darkness. So not just the things that happen to you in your own personal life that are difficult and challenging, but the things that are happening really challenging in the world, the earth angel feels very called to go there and try and help. The nice thing about being an earth angel is that earth angels tend to find a lot of deep meaning, even in small moments in life. So I think when something really challenging happens to you as an earth angel, it can be fuel for you as a healer to say, okay, this has not been fun. Maybe I wouldn't have chosen it, but it has really deepened my compassion for other people who are suffering because I have suffered deeply. So now I have much more compassion towards others who are suffering.
Do earth angels have a tough time with confrontation?
Yes, and you're doing such a great job of highlighting things in the book. And I have a whole section on confronting as an earth angel, because highly sensitive and empathic people, I think, not all of them for sure, but some of them can have trouble with confrontation, because if you are sensitive and you can feel the energies and emotions of someone else, confronting people is not fun. Because usually when you confront people, you will get some interesting or sometimes funky emotions happening in them. And then the sensitive person is feeling those emotions and it's very uncomfortable. Earth angels, on top of that, want to help people and want to make people feel good. So if confronting someone they know is going to upset them, it can make an earth angel shy away from doing that. Yet at the same time, I think we have to remember as sensitive people that sometimes confronting someone else is a gift of grace to them. Because if you don't sometimes confront a friend or a loved one or a coworker in a healthy diplomatic way, when you feel like they're doing something that isn't the best, then sometimes you can be enabling them in an unhealthy pattern. And they're really better served if you let them know what's going on and give them a chance to change and evolve.
Now, I know you're a highly recognized intuitive. Do you feel that now, during this point in human history, that we have more earth angels on the planet than ever before?
It's interesting. I feel that's a great question. What I have heard from the angels is that we have a lot of earth angels being activated and a lot of people aligning to earth angel energy. So you might even think of earth angels or read this book or read an article someone else has written about earth angels and think, that's never really resonated with me, but I'm feeling called to align more to this energy. I really want to give more and be of service more. It's becoming more important in my life to feel like I'm doing that. So I think there's more of that energy being activated right now and more people who are naturally earth angels being activated. Does that make sense?
It does. And why do you think that that's happened more so now? Why is there this activation of earth angels?
Well, I think that the angels are telling me that happens anytime that there is big crisis. And let's face it, I think earth angels have always been here and always been activated. But I think whenever there's a big wave of collective trauma or crisis, which happens in the world, all the time, unfortunately, it does tend to, that wave of energy can activate earth angels, especially that are in the vicinity of what's going on, of the trauma. The interesting thing that's happening now is because of the digital age, our trauma is becoming much more globally collective. So we're all aware of things that are going on in the planet that we want to help the environment with. We're all aware of racial issues. We're all aware of the pandemic because we're all so connected now through the digital era. So this earth angels can be activated by collective energy. And now collective energy truly is global.
Do you feel that earth angels have a specific purpose when they're here?
Yeah, and it's really simple. It's just to help people who are suffering and to give to others. That's it. And the nice thing about it is that you don't have to have a certain role or position to do that. So if you feel like you identify as an earth angel, it doesn't mean you have to, as they say, blow up your life and get a divorce and get a whole new job and move across the country. It doesn't mean anything it like that you necessarily have to make drastic changes in your life, but it does mean that you get more on purpose in the meaning of what you do in any role you play, whether that's just getting a coffee from a barista or writing a congressperson about something that you don't like that's happening in the world that seems unfair, or whatever it is, or you're at work and you're just trying to treat your coworkers or your clients with dignity and respect and love. It's just bringing more meaning to any role that you already perform and trying to find ways that you can give and show up for other people, knowing that part of the reason you do it is because it makes you feel so good to do it.
So, and I think a lot of times when people feel that they have this type of awakening or this, if let's say if they're earth angel, that maybe they're not so good with money, because you talked about you don't have to like quit your job and do all these things to move away if you find out that you are one. Is the same hold true for money for earth angels?
Yeah, I think for earth angels, again, because they are sensitive people who can feel the energies and emotions of other people and they want the best for people, sometimes I think earth angels have to remind themselves to take care of themselves with money and put themselves first. So it doesn't mean being hoarding money or being unkind or not sharing money. It just means remembering that since we are living on the earth plane, that money is a commodity. All humans need to take care of themselves. So yes, it's important to give to others, whether that's a charity you want to give to, or someone in your neighborhood you want to give to, or someone in your family you want to give to. At the same time, you need to remember that the only way you're able to do your good work in the world is if you are feeling financially stable. Now, of course, we can do good work in the world when we're not feeling financially stable, and we all go through times where we're not feeling financially stable. But the more you can feel financially nourished and stable, the more your survival needs will be taken care of, and the more you can look at doing that higher work of helping others because you're not as concerned with trying to take care of yourself financially.
Well, even Mother Teresa had donors, so there's nothing. You sometimes you need money to make things work, and in this world, we still need to pay our rents, we need to buy food. So I think this is great advice in being able to realize that, hey, as an earth angel, you still need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like we might look at people like Oprah Winfrey who have a lot of I don't know her financials. I'm sure owning many businesses, she has a lot of money that's in play, or, as they say, it's borrowed or it's spent. But we think of her as someone who's having these huge financial resources, but look at the impact that has allowed her to make, and look at how many people she touches and reaches. So sometimes, I think we all know spiritual people struggle with, oh, is it bad to have too much money? I think it's all about what you do with it. Money is a neutral energy. It's not good or bad. It's all what you do with it. And taking care of yourself and your loved ones is great. And then if you have more to help others and push your message out farther into the planet, like Oprah has, then that's a wonderful use of resources.
So what do you want our listeners to take away from not just your book, Are You an Earth Angel, but the work you do as well?
Be kind to yourself. Be good to yourself. You're a sensitive person. You have a tender heart. If you're an Earth Angel, it's okay that your heart is breaking a little bit right now. That's okay. It's okay to feel heartbreak and feel the suffering and pain of the world. Just remember that as much as you want to give and be a part of healing and change in the world right now, you also have to temper that with taking good care of yourself so that you can stay grounded and whole. And that's what gives you the ability to be the Earth Angel that we love you for and that we need in the world.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
Yeah, thank you. It's been so fun. I always love talking about Earth Angels. And you can find me at my website, which is Tanya Blessings, Tanya, and then just the word blessings. And it's got links to all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I love to post on those platforms. I have a free newsletter that goes out once or twice a month you can sign up for. And then you can find any of my books. I've written 7 nonfiction books. If you're an angel lover, I have a couple of books about divine angels. And you can find those at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, or anywhere that books are sold.
Oh my goodness, Tanya, thank you so much. I so enjoy the time we get to spend together, and how much fun has that been? Again, if you'd like to connect with Tanya, you can at tanyarichardson.com for more information. Her book, Are You an Earth Angel, is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers, and it's also available on Kindle. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.